This is the Fujifilm X-T30 III. I've had this camera on loan for a couple weeks, and after a bit of testing, I have a few things to say. But right off the bat, let me just say that the X-T30 III might just be the most well-rounded camera on the market as of October 2025. And I mean that in terms of portability, performance, practicality, potential, and price. But let's get straight into it, checking out the construction and general specs of the X-T30 III. The last X-T30 was released back in 2021, and 4 years later, they've given it a decent spec bump. The exterior design of the body has not changed much aside from the addition of the film simulation dial, replacing the drive mode dial on the previous model, which has now been allocated to the delete button. The body is very compact and lightweight, but feels solid and well built. All the dials and switches have great tactile feedback. The built-in flash flips out astonishingly quick, and the tolerance on the rear tiltable LCD screen feels tight without being too difficult to deploy. Oh, and the SD card eject is quite intense if you're not prepared. Keep that in mind. Damn. Fujifilm has always done a great job of making their cameras look pretty, and the X-T30 III is no different. A retro-looking design making it look like a compact analog film camera, but under the hood, packing some seriously impressive digital power. It sports the previous generation X-Trans 4 26.1 megapixel sensor with the current Gen X Processor 5 processing engine. This combo basically means you get smart autofocus detection settings, faster autofocus performance, better image quality, and the ability to record 10-bit 422 in camera at up to 6.2K 29.9 frames per second. You also have access to all 20 film simulations Fujifilm has to date. Truth be told, I originally wanted to make a review solely on how this camera performed the way I usually use it, which is in fast-paced street photography settings. But then considering where this camera sits in the X series lineup and the main target demographic, I wanted to show you just how effortless it is to get started and achieve flawless images, comparable to that of more expensive cameras out there. And what better way to do that than to take this X-T30 III and throw it into scenarios that most people could see themselves in and put this camera through its paces. Yeah, maybe sprinkle some street photography in there, because why not? We've arrived at the Auburn Botanical Gardens, and this is the Japanese garden section. It's a lovely spot filled with exotic landscapes and animals. The lens I've chosen to bring with me is the Fujifilm 16-80mm f4 zoom lens. That's 24:120 in full frame equivalency. The lens is optically stabilized, which may not really matter given how bright and sunny it is, but it will help with video, as you'll see later on. Because of how small and light the camera body is, having a lens like the 16-80 may be a little front heavy when carrying it around the neck, but thanks to the hand grip and thumb rest at the back of the camera, it makes handling and shooting very manageable. In this example, the waterfall is the perfect test to show off some of the X-T30 III's video capabilities. Without doing too much, I switched over to the video mode by selecting it in the drive selection menu, and I hit record. 6.2K 29.97 frames per second in f-log, and with a little bit of grading and post, this was what I could achieve. I also wanted to see how it fared with slow motion, so here is what 1080p 240 frames per second slow motion looks like. There's also two different ways of recording in vertical composition mode, which essentially allows you to record in horizontal orientation, but the camera will only record the center portion 9:16 aspect ratio. If you select 9:16 aspect ratio from the movie mode setting, you can still shoot in f-log at a higher bitrate. But if you choose the 9:16 short movie mode, the camera will optimize the video quality for social media and restrict the time limit of recording to 3 preset times at a lower bitrate. I was lucky enough to witness some nice peacock display. The X-T30 III didn't break a sweat and handled focus quite easily here. It seemed like most of the challenges I tried to throw at the X-T30 III didn't quite pose an issue, whether it was focusing on the smaller details, fast-moving objects, or even amidst reflections. I'd say 90% of the time it managed to get focused and nail the shot. Where I did find it struggle was when recording videos of busy scenes whilst in multi or wide tracking mode. As you can see in this video, there were moments when the autofocus decided to drift between different subject matter. I spent the rest of the time taking in more of what the garden had to offer. Here are some more scenes I captured. Switching things up a little, I swapped out the 16 to 80mm lens with the 23mm f2.8 prime. This setup is a perfect combo, a super lightweight and compact lens paired with the X-T30 III. The 23mm lens is great for street and documentary shooting. Paired with this camera, the autofocus was responsive and accurate. We've now arrived at Sydney Aquarium. I haven't been back in a decade, so this will be fun. Switching back to the 16 to 80mm because it has optical image stabilization, and I think having the zoom will come in handy, especially given how busy and cramped it will be inside. I specifically chose this location because I knew it would be something challenging for most cameras to handle. Low light, busy scenes, moving subject matter, and reflections. And there was a feature I was curious about. The auto mode switch. So this entire session, I will really put my faith into the X-T30 III. I honestly didn't have high expectations, but yet again, this little camera proved me wrong. Despite the lens being f4 minimum aperture, the camera did a great job at balancing the ISO and shutter speed to ensure my photos came out as clean as possible without producing any motion blur. And if you think about aquatic animals moving erratically underwater behind a glass display with humans ducking in and out on the other side, it's no small feat to capture. All these activities have made me hungry, so the missus and I went over to our favorite local Korean joint to grab a feed. I also wanted to showcase how easy the X-T30 III is to use in a realistic social setting. Who doesn't love taking photos of their food? The great thing about the X-T30 III is how approachable the camera is. By switching the camera to auto and handing it over to someone who may not necessarily be a photographer, they won't find it intimidating. Just tell them to point it at something and press the shutter button and they'll end up capturing some fond memories. One of the reasons why a lot of people choose Fujifilm in the first place is because of the film simulations. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't really like editing photos too much and just wants some nicely rendered photos straight out of camera, the X-T30 III might just be all you need, because every single Fujifilm camera in the same generation processor is going to have all the film simulation recipes. So it doesn't matter if it's a $5,000 Fujifilm camera or this X-T30 III, you're gonna have all the film simulations regardless. Fujifilm has made it very easy for you to switch between film simulations with the addition of the film simulation dial now on the X-T30 III. You're able to really get your creative juices flowing by seeing through the viewfinder or the LCD a live preview of what each film simulation does. They've got 3 quick custom settings here on the dial itself. You've got the FS1, 2, and 3, and then you've also got 7 custom setting slots in the menu, so you can find a bunch of recipes that you like the look of and then just add it all into there, and then you can quickly access them through the menus. So for people who just enjoy nice looking photos and want to play around with the film simulations, this dial comes in really handy. Personally, between the drive modes and the film simulations, I much prefer the film simulations because you don't really need all the drive mode settings all the time, whereas the film simulations, depending on how you feel the day, you can just quickly switch between each one and get a look that you prefer. I've left this till last, but let me quickly touch on street photography. The truth is, the X-T30 III is really good for it. When it comes to street photography, it can do anything that the other high-end Fujifilm cameras can. The rear LCD screen has good detail, and in case there's too much glare, the viewfinder is just as bright and clear. Lack of in-body stabilization is not a deal breaker, and do you really need more than 8 frames per second continuous burst? If not, this is all you need. The camera uses the MPW126S batteries and the performance is adequate, but at times I just wanted a little more juice. On a full day out shooting photo and video, I had to carry 2 spares. This camera isn't weather sealed, so take care not to take it into pouring rain, super humid, sandy or dusty environments. Look, I'm sure the X-T30 III can handle a little here and there just fine, but just use common sense. The X-T30 III is simply the best jack of all trades camera. It's compact, lightweight, looks great, can take beautiful photos and capture high quality videos. What else can I say? If I had to recommend a camera to someone looking to get into both photography and videography, this would be my top pick. The Fujifilm X-T30 III is perfect for somebody looking to go beyond their phone. They want a no frills, everyday camera that looks stylish, is easy to operate, and captures beautiful looking images right out of the box without too much effort, but still has the potential to grow and adapt to the user as their skill level rises, and will continue to be that perfect everyday camera for years to come. I hope you found this video helpful. If you want to see more content like this, consider subscribing. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.